Tekken 8 has been out for 1 whole year. Sort of. Happy birthday! I wish I could say this road has been nothing but amazing, but wow, has it been anything but. This has been a year of tweets, apologies, emergency patches, review bombs, and more. I want to fully go over every single event that we as a community have been through, because it's been a lot. As we all know, Tekken 8 has been very ambitious. From the sonic, visual, and gameplay revamps to the marketing, everything has changed. Has this year been as bad or good as we remember? Where is Tekken 8 now, and where do we want to see it go from here? On the fated day of February 5th, which is also the day that Pompeii occurred, I don't think that's a coincidence, Katsuhiro Harada and Kohei Inkida, also known as Nakatsu, loaded up their PowerPoint to introduce their new keyword for the Tekken franchise, aggression. This was implemented through the heat system, with hopes to A. Make battles more enjoyable, B. Make it easier to understand battles from a spectator perspective, and C. Enhance character individuality. The developers go on to reveal another comeback mechanic in the returning rage state, and relatively new mechanic, recoverable health. I'll be the first to say, not everything was that disastrously bad. They standardized the rage art command and added more accessible controller layouts. In general, this donated to the type of quality of life that Tekken players have been clamoring for. Heat was described as a period of time that is overwhelmingly beneficial to an attacker. Oh no. Originally, when Tekken 8 was in development, there was a token system for heat. With 2 tokens in total, the attacker could perform 2 heat dashes. If this was in the game today, this would be a disaster. Characters would be able to apply frames, make you guess once, do a heat engage or heat dash, which would make you guess twice, then apply frames from that heat dash to make you guess 3 times, and then they could do another heat dash for a 4th guess. While community members immediately sounded alarms like Frame Whisperer, Level Up Your Game, and Mike Hollow, this was the first of many divisions in the Tekken community. People believed that those Tekken creators were being too reactionary since we hadn't even played the game yet, but only time will tell, right? 6 months later, we got the announcement of the Deluxe and Ultimate editions. The Deluxe version is 100 USD, while the Ultimate version is 110 USD. If you want currency conversions, just know that that's like really expensive, man. It came with the Season 1 pass, which was bought and sold without knowing who the characters were or when they were going to come out. The pre-order bonus were gold suits, which actually ended up just being reskins of free assets that were already in the game. The final in-game item that it came with were avatar customs that are largely not used by most of the player base. Even if you go to the fight lounge, as I do sometimes, you'll see people in there and they've actually just gotten really creative with the default content or content from the battle pass that was found in the game. This upset the player base, you know, a little bit because it was $110 fucking dollars. Like, if you look at previous titles, they've had a lot more content, especially for their pre-order bonuses. I believe in Tag 2, you got like a whole character for that, actually. Interlude. Hi, this is me editing. I found an article from August 26, 2012, detailing some of the pre-order content found in Tag 2. So it says, in short, you get 2 characters, the Snoop Dogg special stage, and an entire set of alternate costumes. So just compare that. And also, an example of one of the alternate costumes is Lily's sundress. So if you want to compare Lily's sundress to the gold suits. Eddie Gordo is an iconic character to the Tekken franchise. He's one of those characters that extends beyond the legacy of Tekken, since people that don't even play the game recognize his name and his striking design. And he's earned his way. He's a legacy character, having been in every game since Tekken 3, but in Tekken 8 he was miraculously missing from the base roster. Now, for 8 smackaroos, you can buy Eddie. This was in exchange for a palette swap like Panda, characters that nobody really cares about like Shaheen, Leo, and Claudio, and boring newcomers like Victor and Azucena. And hey, I play like half of those characters. I like a lot of them, but unfortunately the community isn't too fond of those characters in exchange of their precious Gordo. Since Eddie is a defensive character, his new 50-50 offensive rework was largely disliked by his legacy players. And Tekken players are old as hell, fueled mostly by their legacy. Player and commentator Spag, for example, has spoken about his distaste for the new capo, dropping the character entirely. This also was the first introduction of the 333. While a lot of characters have sequences like Eddie's 333, take How's 4444 for example, Eddie's 333 shifts him into stances that have built-in evasion, so it's quite the scrub killer. Don't worry, we'll have a separate session for a very special Twitch streamer. January 26, 2024, the game released and it was awesome. This was before a lot of the systemic issues with the game appeared. I guess you could say we were in a honeymoon period of sorts as the game was positively received, and the relationship between Bamco and the community was perfect. Modders have always been an important part of the community, being a sort of lifeblood to PC players and meme content. So, reasonably, Bamco started sending out cease and desist letters. Allegedly. When this hit the public, it was terrible optics for the company. There was goodwill between the modders and Bamco, so it was a symbiotic relationship for the corporation and the community. This isn't dissimilar to things that Skyrim modders have done for that game, creating new scenarios and visual gags for players to interact with. By, like playing the game. None of this mentions how people make mods for money, sometimes make their living doing so. The news kind of popped off with this specific tweet. This singular tweet about the issue has gained over 720,000 views on Twitter as of the time of recording, and that's just one tweet. Hundreds of videos were made about the issue, and the community universally voiced their disapproval on the Tekken team. Honestly, even looking back now on this decision, it was baffling from a public sentiment perspective, so I'm still confused as to why they even would. We figured it out. With expert detective work, we've located a motive. Just 4 weeks after the reviews for the new title were sent out, the beautiful, illustrious Tekken shop was revealed. The Tekken shop sold purely cosmetic content at around $4 a pop. Of course, it was through in-game currency as well as real currency purchases. If you don't know, this has a lot of adverse psychological effects, as it's built on exploiting reward responses, so much so that there's like whole teams dedicated to doing this and creating these systems for games. It plays into FOMO and all this crap, it's all bad. And some of y'all may not know this, but this is quite near and dear to me, as I'm in college to be like a brain doctor guy person. So the psychological manipulation is not lost on me. For example, of course you can buy in-game currency that doesn't come to a flat number for a payment like 400 coins, which A, desensitizes you to the use of it, as the use of something like Tekken coins doesn't evoke the same emotional response as the use of real currency, and B, you feel the need to spend more money once you purchase your Tekken coins since it doesn't come to an empty amount. At that point, you experience the effects of sunk cost fallacy, since you might as well spend the rest of your coins, which isn't possible unless you buy more. Take this as an example. You want to buy the new Lydia Bukaki outfit, which costs 400 coins, as most of the outfits do. The smallest quantities of coins that you can get are 300 and 500. So let's say you fork over the $5 to $6 to buy the 500 coins. Now you have a leftover 100 coins and think, well, I wouldn't want to waste that, which motivates you to buy more coins. Of course, if you buy the smallest quantity of coins again and say 3 months later you want to buy another cosmetic, now you have 200 coins left over. And this is done on purpose. All of the coin packs are like this, not only in this game but in every gacha, gambling platform, and fighting game, I guess. Most of the microtransactions aren't even good, like there are avatar fireworks that have a limited amount of uses. You pay real money to play an animation a limited amount of times. This caused the second Civil War. Some creators like King J were neutral to positive about the shop's implementation, while others weren't so happy. Conversations about the game needing money to continue support arose, with some people arguing that maybe $70 was enough to play their game, and others brought up things that would perpetually take revenue, like character creation and consistent patches. April 1st was really a day of all time for Tekken 8. I think it fully marked when the sentiment around the game changed, a tipping point if you will. Patch 1.03 released with 2 major additions to the game, Eddie Gordo and Tekken's first ever fight pass, and oh did the community respond. To put it lightly, patch 1.03 destroyed the code of the game, so much so a hotfix with a list of bugs dropped 7 days later. Okay, let's discuss how this even happened. Deviljin and kind of Kazuya, but mostly Deviljin, was intended to receive nerfs this patch due to his Heaven's Gate ender causing a floor break. Instead of just nerfing him directly, the Tekken team made system-wide changes that affected every character. Due to this, so many characters lost wall tech or just had fully bugged stage interactions. Some include Haorong, Fang, Lily, Yoshimitsu, Steve, Brian, Leroy, Zafina, and Law. That's like a third of the cast. In other buggy news, Azucena's wall running 3-2 was nerfed again and was once again unsuccessful, as this iteration of the move, if whiffed, allowed Azucena to fly away from her opponent, recovering before they could hit her. Some people even parried after it and punished you for correctly sidestepping an almost impossible move to sidestep. Zafina's backdash was also dumpstered as the range was drastically decreased and she couldn't backdash out of basic pressure. This was extra funny because Zafina's main character trait in Tekken 7 was her backdash. Lars's dynamic entry 3 is now +5 on block. Why? This move is still +5 on block and it really fucks with like the design philosophy of the character. There's also the rage art and heat burst bug where you could sidestep during the canned animation, so you could like sidestep all the way around someone and do a back throw or hop kick or whatever. It ended up being a nightmare patch where your character was either broken, or nerfed. Eddie also released with this patch. During his Tekken Talk, the developers showed off their very cool and awesome 333-3333 Edward. This recorded and live train wreck exemplified an oversimplification of fighting game characters. Foreshadowing Lydia and Heihachi's fate. Shortly after Eddie's release, Twitch streamer Jim Mashima created the Thready bot and got it to orange ranks, just by pressing 3. Only 3. This actually created an interesting phenomenon as casuals and onlookers to Tekken had a positive response to the project. Comical articles poking fun at the streamer and the matches on display flooded gaming websites, reinvigorating the game after its honeymoon period. But the competitive community was in shambles, since not only did it show issues with the design principles of Tekken 8, but it also displayed issues with the rank system, as you shouldn't be able to climb with one button literally mindlessly pressed. It is important to mention that there is clear counterplay to that strategy, but it's not immediately obvious, making this a good strat at lower ranks. This is when the community found out that if you did not buy Eddie, you could not practice with or against him, nor could you control him in a replay. This spawned more negative press, like they cannot catch a break, which is kind of their fault. Like, I don't understand how they fucked up 7 times in a row. Oh, but that's not even it. That's not even it. We haven't even talked about the Battle Pass, the Fortnite Battle Pass.
You know, if you bought a special edition of this game and you got 32 gold suits, well, check it out. Now you can buy 33 balls.
If there was one word to describe the Battle Pass, I think it would be disappointing. It included reused assets, again, so this is the second time including the customization mode, kind of just bad and lazy cosmetics, and of course, ball. The brazen act of using a non-textured blender ball was honestly unbelievable. I mean, the meme content that was produced as a result of this was truly unforgettable. Like, I can't conceptualize that they thought that that was a good or acceptable thing to do. There was also nothing for people that don't like cosmetics, and while that is honestly difficult to do, like finding non-cosmetic items to put into a battle pass, I wish there was a way that they could engage both sides of the community. And correct me if I'm wrong, but on the first battle pass there weren't any coins on the free route, so you couldn't even get one by just playing the fucking game. It was a terrible introduction to the battle pass system. In April, the community became wise to something that was bubbling beneath the surface of the Tekken ranked lagoon. Prowess matchmaking was in the game for as long as prowess has existed, and people were aware of it before it became a widespread conversation. It was the secret method of matchmaking, in the same way that games like Overwatch hide your true rank for a symbolic visual rank, while your SR may be Plat 3, in-game your MMR may be really Gold 1. But that game isn't even relevant anymore. Rest in peace. In Tekken, higher prowess means one of two things. Either a character is significantly higher ranked than the rest of your other characters, or you have a few characters at a relatively high rank. This makes playing ranked unbearable, especially once you hit 230k prowess. You're now being matched against Tekken God and Tekken God Supremes on their ult, no matter if you're a player with a few blue ranks or a player with one gold rank character. And this extends to all ranks. You want to rake up your red rank side, Reina? Nuh-uh. Fight this Tekken God Supreme on their ult with an 11 win streak. Enjoy! In addition, the blue 1 versus blue 2 phenomenon occurs. Once promoted to gold ranks, your prowess skyrockets. If you get demoted back to blue ranks, you're now in blue 2. All of your matches become way harder, because your prowess now matches those of people in gold ranks, no matter where you are on the ranked ladder. This leads to a huge crash, where most people fall 3 to 6 ranks after being promoted to Tekken King. Before May 1st, a notorious and accredited leaker leaked the Season 1 DLC. These leaks were taken quite seriously considering the fact that they leaked Reina Mashima before her reveal. In the lineup was Eddie, Lydia, Marduk, and Fahk. This did not go well with the community, as both Marduk and Fahk were universally hated in Tekken 7. And some argued that Eddie and Lydia should have just been base roster in the game anyways. I agree. Eddie and Lydia don't make for very good Season 1 characters. They don't really have the hype or name recognition or intrigue that like a new character would have. And especially a character like Eddie just deserves to be on base roster considering his legacy within the game. And then you add on top of that fucking Marduk and Fahk, it's not good. It's not good. If they actually went with this for the Season 1 DLC lineup, I think that the game would be in an even worse state somehow. Lydia released on May 26th with a 6 stage. It's one of my personal favorites. It's kind of like a better version of the Fuji stage or a worse version of the Dead or Alive 4 Sea Market stage. While Lydia is loved by her core audience, for most of the Tekken player base, she's one of the most milquetoast boring character selections that they could have made, especially for a Season 1 roster. And it wasn't the character herself. A lot of people love the traditional grounded karate motif, but it's the fact that A, there were better characters to put in your Season 1 character pass, B, she could and should have been base roster, and most importantly C, she was also the most recent DLC character and they made you pay for her again. And twice as much at that. Once again, similar issue with Eddie, you couldn't practice with or against her or control her in a replay. All of these things put together made for another controversial DLC release. EVO 2024, or I guess you could call it Drag Evo enough. I hate that. There was very boring character selection, generally lacking diversity in EVO. You can see the top 256 here. This caused less eyes and excitement around the game, and usually after EVO, there's a boost in the viewers and players and people just paying attention to the game in September. After the hype of events like EVO and Sejam Slam, the audience fervor had run out. There were low player counts and low viewer numbers on Twitch, signaling that people were just bored in general. This is especially damning in comparison to games like Street Fighter 6. And historically, it's important to keep in mind that Street Fighter has always been larger than Tekken, but this is like crazy. September 10th, I think, demonstrated a lot of frustration that people were feeling. This was largely a contrived controversy as the leaks caused a huge outrage prior to even knowing what they were. In short, pictures of these quote-unquote loot boxes were data mined and they turned out to be bundles for cosmetics. Are these even in the game anymore? They disappeared within weeks of being implemented. And for me personally, this is when I realized there were more maintenances for cosmetics than actual game balance. A lot of people felt immediately angered when they saw the data mine pictures before even knowing what they were, which kind of showed that a lot of people were just frustrated and looking for things to be mad at this point. Anything that could be negatively twisted was very much so negatively twisted because things that we felt positively about before, we had been let down. This was a very tone-deaf decision, especially after making the base game 70 USD. This decision was just generally unaware of their target audience, a group that would likely not be able to spend $500 on things like sunglasses or $200 for fake skateboards. It was also poorly timed since the sentiment around the game was negative. We had in-game ads, Nike sponsorships, and Chipotle deals. However, the Gentle Monster sunglasses were free in-game, so that's good. They were free for a limited time. I wish I had a Harada lie counter for this video, but it'd probably be in the thousands, so you can just add this to the pile. Harada originally stated that Heihachi was quote-unquote completely dead, for the second time, by the way, and he wasn't dead. Shocker. This personally left an extremely poor taste in my mouth, because it's not only lying once, not lying twice, but 3 fucking times. For a character whose moveset is already in the fucking game, again, people were annoyed by having to pay for a legacy character that was base roster in previous titles. Others argue that he did not need to return because his story concluded in Tekken 7. And the Tekken 8 story implications of this character being in this game are so bad. I made a separate video on it, you can check that out, because if I got into my gripes with that story mode expansion, this video would be 2 hours long. Heihachi caused a lot of division as half of the community still thinks that he's busted and the other half still think that he is low to mid tier. Just like with Eddie and Lydia, you cannot lab or practice with the character at the point of his release, and this largely felt like the third division of the community. There was just a lot of argument and controversy around Heihachi even existing as a character in this game that again, the sentiment around DLC is just not very positive and not getting better. I will say there was a lot of positive coverage about how the character is actually implemented gameplay wise, and love him or hate him, he looks pretty cool. He looks pretty okay, man. October 3rd is kind of like April 1st, where so many negative things just happened all at once, and this was one of the larger ones. Lydia's Beat stage, featured in the summer update, was a free stage full of life and unique animations found in the crowds behind you. Tekken stages historically have been free. However, Genmaji was not free, even if you bought the season pass. Additionally, you couldn't buy it with Tekken coins, you had to use real currency, and this caused a huge stir. Old heads, old people, old fucks, they were not happy about this change. Hundreds of videos were made covering this, and it was mostly about the shady business way that they decided to conduct themselves. Not expressing that this is a paid stage, even if you bought the season pass, did not rub people the right way. Harada eventually ended up apologizing for it on Twitter, and then deleted his apology, and the review bombing began. This eventually resulted in Steam having to shut off the ability to review the game until reviews kind of leveled out. All of that did not slay. What did slay in this update was the ability to use all of the DLC characters in the story mode expansion. It was also free, so even though it was terrible and inconclusive and had terrible retcons, it was free and it was very beautiful as well. On October 3rd, we also saw the addition of the third awful battle pass in a row. Like 60% of the content and default customization is reused, and the community is becoming increasingly aware of how bad the customization mode is. This is not helping, and it's not really helping either when you add that a lot of the reused assets are from previous titles as well. It's like, okay, do you want to pay $4 for the shitty new piece of content that we put in the game? Or do you want to pay $4 for the kind of badly ported piece of content that we stole from a different title? Or you could pay $4 to just reuse Nina's hair. Ooh, that's my favorite one.
More plus frames here, right? Keep it on that base.
Plus frames.
So much.
Plus frames.
Oh, he's still alive, but he's not in a good spot.
Oh
my god.
My god.
Yo, if you're gonna hit the Matterhorn, make sure it matters.
Thaiger Uppercut is a Masters event held in Thailand. There, Chinese player XCC was disqualified even after almost making it into the top 8. This was bizarre. Even though it was clearly stated in the Bandai Namco rules for the Tekken tournament that Chinese players and players from select few countries would not be allowed to compete, China's influence on gaming is immense, and not just in one field, but in a bunch, including fighting games. So fundamentally, a lot of people disagreed with that rule even being there. So it caused another PR nightmare for Bandai Namco. This was such a controversy that 3 days later, the company released a tweet apologizing and gave XCC another chance to compete. This is when everything began collapsing. Community sentiment really started plummeting more than before. But as Hannah Arendt would agree, depression can be quite banal, seeking its way into every loss, then every play session, then every match. So we, as a community, continued the slog, accepting our conditions despite things like this Arslan Ash tweet, which harked back to those sentiments expressed by the two greatest players, if you could recall these old collection of tweets. I mean, this is like, could you imagine if 3 players off the Lakers were like, man, I fucking hate basketball, it makes me want to kill myself. Influencers and content creators were also seen leaving with the devastating loss of Frame Whisperer in July of this year. Rest in peace, man, in Finland or whatever the fuck made up country you live in. Casuals like SK, Lily Pichu, and Super were playing less or not at all. Everyone from casuals to pros is having a bad time, as Heat generally appeals to no one, despite its original intentions. This initiated the Tekken 7 versus Tekken 8 conversation, since the conversation was redirected by people that didn't have a response to the very real issues in the game. And let's really get into that. The way some of y'all completely ignored the criticisms that people had with this game just to talk about Tekken 7, when that was never what the conversation was about. It was about people's gripes with Tekken 8. But now people are arguing which game is better. This is the 4th Civil War, since some people argued that Tekken 8 naysayers were being dramatic, while the aforementioned drama queens did their best I'm quitting Tekken monologue. Despite the rest of everything, November was actually good, as some people were calmed like a baby with their pacifier once they got their Genmaji stage apology, like Harada was a YouTuber that got caught saying the N-word. Oh, well, it was the first month since July without controversy, and I actually enjoyed November as well. I racked up around 50 hours in the game, getting most of my characters to gold ranks, and everyone was speculating on who the final DLC was. Hype was building and things were looking up. Thus, the 5th Civil War of the Iron Nation occurs. Debate sparked around the internet about what real Tekken was and is. Does Final Fantasy's Clive fit into a game with dinosaurs, devils, and robots, or is his gameplay too flashy for a historically grounded Tekken? Of course, the typical conversations start about how it should have been X character or Y Honey Pop character, but we are now at the point where people are quitting because of Clive. Bro, his name is Clive, and it doesn't help that he's good. Well, he's like really good, like top 10 in some tier lists. In my personal opinion, he doesn't fit Tekken. Too much visual noise on the screen. I think they did a really good job at adapting him, and he appeals to people that he appeals to. He's like obviously a very competently designed character. They designed countless characters, of course he is. I just think he would fit much more into a game like Soul Calibur, or Mortal Kombat, or Killer Instinct, or like almost anything else, man. At the same award show Clive was announced at, Virtua Fighter 6 was revealed. It came with a lengthy stream a few hours later, giving some details on the title as well as a full revamp to Virtua Fighter 5, an adored installment in the series. This created a funny dichotomy, as you could watch the disappointment at the Tekken trailer and then skip 5 minutes and see overwhelming excitement for the VF trailer. With the way things are going, Tekken 8 is the FGC's Overwatch 2, and Virtua Fighter 6 has a potential to be Marvel rivals, if you know what I mean. People act impervious like it could never happen, but Tekken has had many dark periods, like Tekken 4, Tekken Revolution, Tekken Tag 2, even Tekken 6 to an extent, periods of time where Tekken nearly ended, and other fighting games like Street Fighter siphoned its player base. We are not immune to that shit happening again. I really just want to see this game in a good state, because there's times when I play it and I look at it on my screen, and its graphical fidelity is like overwhelming. The amount of care and love that went into each one of these characters is like breathtaking. But then you play the fucking game, dude. You play the actual game. And you think about the way that us as a community have been treated. The way that this company makes us fucking clap and celebrate getting basic things like frame data. Basic things like online practice mode that they promised us at the beginning of the game and we had to wait like 8 months. There's a lot of things that us as a community have been through that I don't think we reflect enough on. We kind of just let it roll off our back until the next controversy, until the next controversy, until the next controversy. And for some people, it's boiled up at this point. It creates a fractioning in our community, which generally makes it more difficult for us to advocate for the things that we would like to see. Like, keep in mind, a lot of the changes that we've seen to practice mode, even having coins added to the battle pass. These things came out of Tekken fans being annoying and bitches and complaining, but we eventually got something out of it. Like, we banded together and we bargained. I feel like if we keep expressing how we feel about the game in ways like this video, I hope, came across, where I'm still hopeful. I'm just like in a little bit of disbelief with the way that this game has gone so far. Like, even at this point, if everything was perfect gameplay-wise, which it absolutely isn't, there's still all of the ethical microtransaction shit that's, like, fucked up. Even if all of the quality of life was there, the balance is still a mess. And so on and so forth. You know what I mean? Like, I truly think this game, Tekken in general, but Tekken 8 is, like, a special game. It has the potential to be the greatest Tekken. I like truly mean that. Just a lot of the design philosophy that they've chosen for the way that these characters are balanced, the terrible, I want to say that one more time for the people in the back, just in case you couldn't hear me, terrible communication that this company has with us. A lot of the awful microtransactions. There's just a lot of things contributing to this game not being as good as it could be. And I would really like for it to be good. So, I hope you know what I meant by this, like, not disclaimer, because it's at the end, I guess, explanation. I hope that there wasn't, like, a lot of perceived malice in this video. I do goddamn hate this game, but I hate it, like, how I love it, you know what I mean? Like, complaints that I've made in this video are really because I would like to see the game be better. And covering it in this type of holistic way, where we look at an entire year's worth of events in a bunch of different sectors, I think gives us a broader picture as to some of the things that we can aim to fix in 2025 for this game, right? Because I would like to see an SK. I would like to see a Super. I would like to see a Lily Pichu, so on and so forth. Continue to play this game, because it's pretty great. I think Tekken is pretty awesome. I have like a channel around it, you know what I mean? But like, okay, that's it. This video took forever because it's a larger video and I got sick twice in the span of a month. So I hope you enjoyed it. More videos to come, I fucking hope. I'm just very busy right now, horrifically so. But regardless, I will see you in my next video. I think I should say adieu to say goodbye, because it's like my channel. You know, like maybe like that would be like a smart thing to do, because it's my channel and like the branding. You know what I mean?